Greatness comes with a curse. Jimi Hendrix, Kurt Cobain, Amy Winehouse. They weren't just talented musicians, they were geniuses, auteurs. They operated on new frontiers of creativity, paving the roads for music today. But where did those roads lead them? The doors of the 27 Club. The mystery of the 27 Club is eerily fascinating, emotionally jarring, riveting. How come so many of history's most prolific artists all died at the young age of 27? A mere coincidence doesn't explain the full story. It's our modern-day Icarus. Many of us aspire to reach great heights, but rarely do we think of the costs. Drug addictions, mental illness, jealous and violent enemies. Tragic tales of these artists shows us the hidden dangers that lurk on the path to brilliance. A thought-provoking, twisting, and turning investigation. Get ready to uncover the grave price of artistic immortality. The story starts with the devil. Yes, you heard correctly, the devil. Let's go way back in time to 1930s Mississippi and visit the largest urban myth of the 27 Club, the man who sold his soul to the devil. Blues music was thriving locally, prompting a teenager with musical dreams to move into the area. His name? Robert Johnson. Ever heard of him? Well, you're sure to have heard of the musicians he's influenced. Beatles, the Rolling Stones, and Led Zeppelin, to name a few. Blues guitarist of the time, Son House, first met Robert passing through the area, describing him as a competent harmonica player, but an embarrassingly bad guitarist. Yet, just a short time later, when Son House ran into him again, Robert had miraculously transformed into a virtuoso guitarist. He suddenly had impeccable technique, songwriting prowess, and a magical ability to learn songs upon first listen. Robert quickly became a hit in the South, dazzling audiences with musicianship unlike any before seen. No one could really explain how Robert acquired such mastery, except for one famous theory. Son House suggested the only way Robert could have ascended to greatness in the short time he did was a deal with the devil, selling his soul in exchange for guitar greatness. To put matters into perspective, Son House is a legend, arguably considered one of the greatest guitarists of the Mississippi Delta. So if he was dumbfounded enough by Robert's skills to suggest a pact with the devil was the only possible explanation, it really shows just how mind-blowing Robert's playing was. However, this Faustian bargain, remember this term for later, came at a price, as Robert, in the midst of his fame and fortune, mysteriously died at the age of 27. Theories regarding Robert's death are worth a video of their own. Some say he was poisoned by jealous men whose wives flirted with Robert. Others say the devil simply took its end of the bargain. But let's focus on the lore of Robert's deal with the devil. When considering his devil's pact, not in a literal sense, but an allegorical sense, an eerie story starts piecing together the 27 Club. Introduce Faust, largely considered one of the greatest works of Western literature. Goethe's play tells the tale of a depressed scholar who asks the devil to grant him all the knowledge and pleasures of the world. In response, the devil's representative, Mephistopheles, makes a bargain with Faust. Mephistopheles will grant Faust his wishes for a number of years, but at the end of the term, the devil will claim Faust's soul. Sounds pretty much the same as Robert's story, doesn't it? Yet, when we see Mephistopheles as an analogy for drugs, alcohol, fame, we see his handprints all over the lives of the 27 Club's most treasured members. None more so than music's era of darkness. The 60s may have been music's most transformative decade. The massive music festivals, stadium concerts, and cultural importance of today's music all trace their roots to this period. The notion of a rock star, which started bubbling up in the 50s, became cemented by the unbelievable music of the Rolling Stones, Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, and The Doors, all whom unfortunately have invites to the 27 Club. Remember Mephistopheles? Well, he appeared in a new and unique way in the 60s, the mass accessibility of hard drugs. Counterculture and drug culture became somewhat mainstream. LSD, marijuana, and other psychedelics freely flowed through the youth's hands, and they found a home amongst many of music's pioneers. Legend says that Jimi Hendrix used to make a small cut on his forehead and sprinkle LSD on his bandana so that he'd be tripping out while performing. This alongside Carlos Santana's famous accidental acid trip on stage at Woodstock, and the sharp and esoteric turn the Beatles' discography took after their introduction to psychedelics. Much of 60s musical innovation was fueled by profound and positive psychedelic experiences. Unfortunately, though, Mephistopheles brought forth more than just fun psychedelics to the table. Cocaine, heroin, amphetamines, and excessive alcohol. These two became staples in musical scenes and punched in many tickets to the 27 Club. The rock star life of excessive touring, the pressures of fame, and industry control was a new development in the 60s. The rock legends of this era were sort of the guinea pigs for the industrialized celebrity lifestyle. The mass distribution of TV, cassettes, and vinyl saw music become internationally accessible. As such, musicians saw an unprecedented level of fame and fortune. In the same manner that Faust requested all the pleasures of the world, the rock stars of the 60s were given the same gift: private planes, godlike fan adoration, TV stardom. The world was their oyster, but like Faust, they too had to make a bargain with Mephistopheles. To keep up with not only the lifestyle, but also maintain their creative capacities, many became reliant on hard drugs and alcohol. They operated on a live fast, die young paradigm, churning out some of the greatest music in history within an unfortunately very short amount of time. Jimi Hendrix, within a 3-year period of his first album, revolutionized guitar playing until his untimely death by alcohol and amphetamine asphyxiation. Brian Jones was a jack-of-all-trades juggernaut for the Rolling Stones, until his alcoholism drove him to drown. Jim Morrison of The Doors, often seen as the quintessential face of a rock star, never lived to see his legacy, as excessive drug and alcohol consumption put an end to his stardom. As stated in my last documentary, we idolize genius artists because they seem to operate on the fringes of humanity, a land that's unfortunately the breeding grounds for both genius and madness. To exist within this hypercharged space of artistic creation and innovation, a bargain with the devil's associate in the form of drugs, alcohol, and internal turmoil was the only choice for these legends. Unfortunately, that bargain came with a 27-year limit. Take note of the fact that an uncanny number of the 27 Club musicians weren't just regular musicians. They were pioneers of a new genre, a new sound. Faust didn't just want to be smart, he wanted to be a genius, an icon, one amongst the rest. Similarly, Mephistopheles dangled not just proficiency, but mastery and immortalized legacy in the faces of our beloved and lost musicians. None arguably more so than, as Dave Grohl notes, the one who he couldn't save from himself, Kurt Cobain. Nirvana didn't just usher in a new genre. They represented the sound of the human id, the sound of our darkest and most taboo conscience, unlike anyone before them. Their ability to capture the madness of the human mind, both lyrically and sonically, was otherworldly. It's no surprise, though, given who was involved. We've investigated the troubled life of Kurt extensively in our last documentary. From bipolar disorder to a family history of suicide and addiction, Cobain was practically born into the dreaded lair of Mephistopheles himself. The immediate catapult to fame Nirvana encountered threw Kurt into the same loop of turmoil that claimed the legends to come before him. Already struggling with his mental health, Kurt started to spiral amidst Nirvana's seminal height of fame and success with the release of In Utero, their final album. His swan song followed soon after, with Mephistopheles taking his end of the bargain through Kurt's own hands. From this tragedy, Kurt's mother is quoted as saying, "Now he's gone and joined that stupid club," thus conceiving the idea of the 27 Club. The tragic tales of these generational talents gone far too soon humbles us to the grave realities of artistic excellence. To reach for the stars, one must prepare to be burned by the sun along the way, or incur the fall during the descent. Jimi Hendrix, Amy Winehouse, Janis Joplin, these artists, among many others, met an untimely end. However, They changed world culture with their service to the arts. While short-lived in the flesh, their legacy and impact will surely live on for generations to come.